If you are an Aussie watching this in 2021, you should seriously consider learning Chinese. Yes. Now, recently I was contacted by a Chinese teacher in Australia to make a video to help encourage his students to continue studying the language. I'll show you that in a minute, but all names and mentions of specific places have been removed to protect privacy. I mean, this is the internet after all. But I still think it is a good message to share. So here it goes. Oh, and before I play the video, a subscription to this channel would be greatly appreciated. Hey everybody, this is Hazza. Now, this video is especially for your teacher. Firstly, since I'm recording this on Chinese New Year's Eve, I would like to wish a very happy Chinese New Year and all the best for the Year of the Ox. 新年快乐，恭喜发财. Anyway, through a mutual friend, contacted me and asked me if it would be okay to film a video to talk a little bit about my story. And to be honest, I was super excited because in recent times, I'm sure you're well aware why, not many people in Australia have actually reached out to me. So I was super stoked and I'm extremely happy to share my story with you. So I actually started learning Chinese at Westmoreton Anglican College from grade 1 and continued learning through to grade 6. But at that time, I had no intention of pursuing that further. So in grade 7, I made the decision to learn German instead. A decision I now regret. Although not because there's anything wrong with learning German, but simply because if I had continued learning Chinese all the way through school, I probably would be a much better speaker today. Anyway, I picked Chinese back up in grade 11. At that time, I was well behind everybody else in the class. My Chinese teacher was a lovely lady called Miss Chen, and she was very accommodating. While everybody else was learning the current syllabus at the time, I was at the back of the room going through all of the textbooks that I had missed. And Miss Chen even designed exam papers especially for me, which I think was very kind. Eventually, I managed to catch up, and in grade 12, finally, I started to get some decent marks. I picked up Chinese again after visiting China over the Christmas holidays, and honestly, it was because I just felt frustrated that I was not able to communicate with 1/6 of the world's population directly. Also, this was over 10 years ago, and I just knew that China would play an increasingly important role on the global stage, and I wanted to be equipped with the skills to be able to contribute to that somehow. Now, after high school, I went to Griffith University to study linguistics, and I had some incredible lecturers. I studied Korean and Chinese, but Chinese was my main focus because even though I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life at the time, I knew that it would have something to do with China. Anyway, long story short, after a short stint at a radio station in Brisbane, I went for another trip to China and managed to land a job at my current employer, Guangdong Radio and Television, which at the time was called GDTV. I've now been at GDTV for around 10 years, and I host a number of programs, including a radio news show, a television news show where I interview diplomats from across the globe, and I also participate in entertainment programs for our network, which has around 10 channels. So usually I have quite a bit on my plate, but I love it. The most challenging thing about being here is being torn between a job that I absolutely love and my family back home that I love even more. My family is super supportive though, which I really appreciate. Also, the last couple of years have been challenging just due to the fact that tensions between Australia and China have been rising, but I have done my best to represent Australia well and contribute to building that bridge between our two countries, because Australia's future really depends on having capable Australians who can engage meaningfully with China. It may not be recognised fully now, but in the future, I'm sure it definitely will be. So far, my greatest achievement has been winning the China News Award. Now, when I won this award, I actually did not know about its significance. I now know, though, that journalists in China work their entire lives trying to win this award, but for some reason, I was able to achieve this within the short time that I've been here, and for that, I am truly grateful. Now, this award was presented at the Hall of the People in Beijing, and the winners of the award received a congratulatory letter from Chinese President Xi Jinping. So it was kind of a big deal, and local media here reported that I was the first Australian to actually win it. So this does really mean a lot to me. Now, I would like to move on to why I think you should learn Chinese. Learning Chinese sounds daunting, but with the right attitude, you can definitely make progress. Australia needs more Australians who understand Chinese, and Chinese culture and language are so intertwined that learning the language means you are already starting to learn about and understand the country's culture. Plus, as China grows more influential in the future, eventually Chinese will become a more commonly spoken second language, and it'll be spoken by many people. Honestly, I still think English will remain the most popular second language around the world for some time to come, but I have already encountered situations where the only way I could communicate with a non-Chinese person was through using Chinese, not English. That's because in a lot of middle income and developing countries, Chinese is now the preferred second language to learn. So not only are you cultivating a tool that allows you to speak directly to 1.4 billion Chinese people, but you are also gaining a tool that allows you to speak with the millions of other Chinese language learners around the world. Now, in terms of careers, well, speaking Chinese will always be a bonus, even in Australia. Australia lacks Chinese speakers, so having that ability on your resume will always make you stand out. Now, if you plan on coming to China to work in the future, speaking the language will also give you a major leg up and enable you to work in professional roles. I mean, think about it. If people immigrate to Australia without knowing how to speak English, their employment options are always going to be limited, and the same goes for China. Speaking and understanding Chinese can open up a lot of doors and opportunities. Also, and this is solely my personal opinion, but in Australia there is a sense of fear when it comes to China at the moment. The anti-China sentiment is at an all-time high. But the fact of the matter is, as a country, we have been economically successful for decades due to China's rise. I believe that most of the fear is born out of China being the unknown. Suppose you persist with learning Chinese and understanding Chinese culture. In that case, you will play a role in securing Australia's future as a prosperous country, and by doing so, you could affect so many people around you in such a positive way. Now, even though I did not go to I think it is a great school, and I'm so happy to hear that Chinese is still offered as a language there. If you have Chinese students at your school, make sure you go up to them, make friends with them, chat with them about life, and just get to know them as people. I've been here in China for 10 years, and after all of this time, I've realized that deep down, we're all just the same. We're all just human beings trying to live our lives the best we can, and we all have the same wants, needs, and hopes for the future. Anyway, thank you for listening to me ramble on. I hope you will consider pursuing Chinese language learning in the future, and if you're interested, please follow me on Twitter at GDTV Hazza, where I share clips from my TV shows and some other interesting content about China. Anyway, thanks once again to Mr. and make sure you show him some appreciation, because he is sharing skills and knowledge with you that years down the track could be extremely valuable. So he deserves it. Anyway, have a good one and enjoy studying Chinese. Now, there are a few extra things I would like to add. In 2021, anti-China sentiment is at an all-time high. Learning Chinese is probably not seen as the most appealing thing to do now for a lot of Australians, but that means there is an opportunity for those with a bit of vision. I think now is one of the best times to start learning. Why? There are so many resources out there, and since demand is low, you have a better chance of gaining access to the best teachers and resources. Plus, in the future, a time will come when Australia-China relations will improve, and by that time, we will need all of the Chinese speakers we can get. If you start now, you'll be ready to contribute when that day comes. Now, some might think that China doesn't offer any opportunities, but that is far from the case. On Thursday, it was announced that Australian blogger Margaret Jung had taken up the role of editor-in-chief at Vogue China at the age of 27, making her the youngest ever editor-in-chief of any of Vogue's publications around the world. China offers young people with aspirations a lot of amazing opportunities to boost or kickstart their careers, and China-related opportunities will surely increase in Australia over time too. So my advice is, get in there now. As the Chinese say, there is always opportunity to be found in crisis, and for young Aussies, learning Chinese today is one of those opportunities. Now, I'd like to know what your thoughts are. Whether you agree or disagree with me, I would love to hear what you have to say in the comments section below. And don't forget to give this video a like and feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.